What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another spring practice report video. It is March 31st, last day of March. We've got April 1st and all kinds of spring games right around the corner. We're going to talk about the ones that are going on this week, and we've got games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, that puts us almost a week, over a week away from a big weekend in spring games. As again, the ninth has just a ton of games on, and we will definitely talk more about that next week as we get closer into those games. But as of right now, we've got a couple teams to talk about today, so let's take a ride around the country. All right, we are going to start with Clemson, who had their second spring scrimmage the other day. Bo Collins, unfortunately, has pulled one of his hamstrings running routes, so he will be out for the rest of spring practice. DJ Ukulele has strung together great is the way it was described spring practices, but Cade Klubnik continues to impress. He has been as advertised and has been described as a sponge in picking up everything when it comes to the offense. Right now, we talked about it, I believe, in the very first spring video that I did, that Cade Klubnik had come in a little bit underweight. I think it was at about 180, 185. He is reportedly up to 190 right now, and the goal is for him to be right around 200 in August. He said he's not going to put a limit on it, but he's aiming for anywhere between 199 and 205. Will Shipley has been in a green jersey the past couple days. He will not scrimmage and will likely not play in the spring game. So he's likely, for the most part, done for the rest of spring when it comes to practices. Moving on up to Oregon, Ty Thompson opened with the first team offense today. He led the team down the field and actually connected with a beautiful ball down the sideline to Seven McGee, the new slot receiver, who had Jamal Hill all over him. It was apparently a great throw, great catch by Seven McGee. However, and this has unfortunately been kind of the trend, according to Dan Lanning, with Ty Thompson, after a few more nice plays, it was followed by a turnover. The ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage and intercepted. Bo Nix led the second team offense. He threw a couple balls in the dirt, but did recover with a nice pass to Chris Hudson. And then Jay Butterfield got a run with the third team offense and had practically no success, according to these reports. None of the drives resulted in points. So there's that. Seven McGee, Troy Franklin, and Dante Thornton were the ones out there. So very interesting offense. Again, we've talked a lot about it at C2C, at least Colin Decker and myself have. We would love to see Ty Thompson win this job because I just think he's more explosive and a more intriguing quarterback prospect than Bo Nix. I think we know what Bo Nix is. We don't necessarily know what Ty Thompson is and what he can be, but definitely, I guess, promising he was running with the ones. I still don't think we're going to have any idea who's winning this battle until like a couple weeks before the season kicks off for the Ducks. And I would lean Nix just because he does have the experience in the Dillingham offense. But it's great to see, more and more reports of Ty Thompson getting runs with the ones. And I'm going to be honest, great to see Seven McGee running with the ones and as the slot wide receiver. Like, again, I liked him a little bit as a receiving running back last year, and to see him transitioning so well to this offense and as a slot wide receiver is definitely good for the Oregon offense. Just adds a little bit more explosiveness to it. Going over to Florida State, we know that they brought in some transfer wide receivers this year. Well, Micah Pittman and Johnny Wilson are making plays. In practice today, they talked about just how athletic they've been. They've been on full display for the past couple of days, including showing consistency in creating separation no matter what the coverage or what the route. Johnny Wilson and specifically Micah Pittman have been very good. In multiple scrimmages today, both came in with multiple touchdowns. Johnny Wilson had 2. Micah Pittman had 3. Johnny Wilson has just been dominating with his size, and Micah Pittman, and reports are, has looked by far the best wide receiver at Florida State. Need to figure out exactly what's going on with the quarterback room, as all 3 of them were throwing to both of these guys, but it looks like Johnny Wilson and Micah Pittman are making names for themselves. Both transfers over here to Florida State, both have been amazing, specifically today in an open practice and what they were able to do. North Carolina, head coach Mack Brown is worried about the wide receiver depth. Makes sense if you've been paying attention to everybody they've lost over the past couple years. They are trying to avoid Downs being bracketed on every play because they know he is the star of this offense. So they are moving him from the slot to the outside, back into the slot. They're practically moving him all over the field. When he is on the outside, it is Kobe Paysor and Gavin Blackwell who are making plays in the slot. Blackwell today specifically made a couple big plays in practice out of the slot. What is interesting as well is tight end Bryson Nesbitt, who is getting a lot of love right now. The reports are that he has a very similar build to Kyle Pitts, 6 foot, about 6'2", 220 pounds. He has been working out of the tight end position, but they've also been moving him outside at wide receiver. Mac Brown has been saying they're doing everything they can to just kind of add more weapons to the field for whomever the quarterback is, again, so that everybody's not just bracketing Josh Downs. While I don't know that there is a thing as another Kyle Pitts, it is interesting that they are comparing Bryson Nesbitt, I'm sorry, and that they are moving him outside, playing him in the slot at the tight end position. It's going to be interesting to watch moving forward. Mac Brown did have a press conference today, and he did say that there is only one person who has locked up a starter position outside of Gavin Blackwell in the wide receiver and running back room, and that is British Brooks. He is the only running back that has a solidified position. Everybody else is still competing, and he said somebody else needs to step up. That being said, he did say that they are pleased with George Pettaway. He is, and he is, quote unquote, he is so fast he can do things in space. That's what he said. So Pettaway getting a little bit of love, but British Brooks is the running back to at least start the season, it looks like, for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Going on over to Iowa, there's not really been much to take away from the quarterbacks here, but I feel like I haven't done enough of the ACC and the Big Ten, so I tried to hit a bunch of those schools today. Spencer Petras, though, has looked the best of the group, according to these reports. And Brody Breck has a wide receiver that is making a name for himself. He has been very impressive in running routes, been very technical, looked very clean, made some very good catches. Don't know that he'll be the starter. He is filling in for Jackson Ritter, who has been out and will be out all of spring because of an injury. But a lot of the reports are because of how good Brecht has been playing that he might be earning himself a spot in this rotation somewhere. Not that we really want to have any Iowa receivers, at least for fantasy. Just something to notice, something to note that Brecht is looking really good here for Iowa. Michigan State had some very interesting notes, I thought. So I mentioned it. I've only talked about Michigan State probably twice at this point. And the theme of their practices, according to Mel Tucker, has been every position is open for battle. Peyton Thorne is, at least right now, the leader in the quarterback room, but quarterbacks Noah Kim and Caden Hauser are pushing, and they are getting a lot of love. Tucker said of Hauser, him coming in early was big for his development. He's already learning in the offense, and I could easily see him rising up the depth chart. He just has that it factor. Noah Kim has also been impressive. He was the third quarterback on the depth chart last year. He's currently listed as the 2. While I don't expect either one of these guys to beat out Peyton Thorne, the fact that both of these guys are looking as good as they are in spring, I'm just curious as to what that means. I still think Thorne's likely the starter all year long, but Noah Kim is a redshirt freshman. So Hauser, a guy that I've been very high on and a guy that I do think is a very good quarterback, if he's not able to beat out Kim to possibly be the 2 at some point this season, could mean it's a very interesting quarterback battle next year. And maybe they do replace Thorne at some point if he's not playing well. I mean, Michigan State really good last year, obviously. If they lose a game early on, do they move on from Thorne? Excuse me. Very interested what happens there. But the fact that Mel Tucker is pumping up Noah Kim and Caden Hauser, I thought was just very interesting. Many of us, including myself, have thought that Jalen Berger was going to be the new Kenneth Walker with the reports of him coming in there, obviously kind of like the same thing, transferring in from another school, had a lot of hype. And reports are that he has been fine. However, the name that has been getting the most talk about being the most impressive in that running back room right now has been Davin Prim. Davion David Prim. Primm is his last name. He has been a standout in practice. He's been physical and tough, and he's been getting a lot of love from Tucker as well, including him telling people to watch out for Prim. He is a very, very good player. So Prim getting a lot of love, not just from the media and what he's done, some of the other coaches, and his head coach himself in Mel Tucker and how good he has looked in these spring practices. I don't know if he's going to be anything. I feel like that running back room is wide open with Badger. You got Berger. Now you've got Prim. I believe there's 7 running backs listed total on the roster right now. So I don't know who it's going to be, but if Berger and Badger are gone, I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Prim late, especially with the love that he's getting. If he ends up getting the job, like we know what the running back can do in this system. So Prim, just a name to look out for right now. Over to Nebraska. They brought in quite a couple of quarterbacks this offseason. Casey Thompson, Logan Smothers. They also had somebody else on the roster. I can't remember his name at the moment. He's injured, though. He's not even competing. And a lot of the talk was from Scott Frost that they wanted this to be a quarterback competition and so that let the best man win. Well, it has not been a competition. Nobody has really stood out except for Casey Thompson. And all the reports are is that he's practically secured the job at quarterback, good or bad, however you want to look at that. Oliver Martin has almost secured himself at the X, Alante Brown at the Z, and Trey Palmer in the slot, while Omar Manning is competing with them. From all the reports it seems like those are going to be the 3 starters for the Nebraska wide receivers. Now, why that matters to me, maybe they're able to do something. I know Scott Frost has not had that offense humming like he did at UCF. But Casey Thompson, say what you want about him. I know we love to give Felix a lot of crap on him. He is a good game manager, and I do think that he can get look what he did for Xavier Worthy, right? Like that, I will say that. Now, none of these guys are Xavier Worthy, but maybe he can make one of them at least somewhat fantasy relevant. The most interesting thing to me, and I had no idea this was going on, so if you guys do know this, I apologize. I thought it would be worth bringing up because I had no idea. Xavier Betts is likely on his way out at Nebraska. Now, he may not even, unfortunately, be able to enter the transfer portal because apparently he's having some kind of academic issues. And if he doesn't meet whatever this academic thing is, he cannot enter the transfer portal, according to the reports that I read. So he may not even be able to leave, but he has not spoken to the coaching staff at all. They were supposedly supposed to have a meeting last Friday. He did not show up, which is obviously not good. I don't know what's going on with him. He was a guy that I was high on. I really liked. I thought he had a chance to be really good at Nebraska. Obviously, I do agree. I do think that they didn't use him the right way, but a lot of the stuff that I read in that, including in that report, was he was also just not that impressive at time at practice. He was very inconsistent. So I don't know what's going to happen with Betts. Definitely a little bit disappointing. We saw this with Wandell as well. Goes in there with all this promise. Just they don't use him the right way. Goes to Kentucky, absolutely blows up. Was kind of hoping for the same thing for Betts here. But now with all these reports about him maybe not even being able to enter the transfer portal is obviously concerning because it looks like he's lost his favor with the coaching staff and even competing for a spot on this team. Last but not least, I just wanted to touch on Ohio State since I am doing ACC and the Big Ten today. CJ Stroud is continuing to get a ton of love from everybody that I've talked to and know, and a lot of it due to him directly competing with Jim Knowles. For those of you who don't know, Jim Knowles, Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator last year, considered to be a very defensive savanted mind, not maybe a great recruiter, but a really great defensive coach. And they're playing off each other. They're adjusting to CJ Stroud, and Stroud is adjusting to him. Now, Day and Kevin Wilson are involved in the play calling, but they are allowing CJ Stroud to have more control over this offense. It's going to be very interesting to see what Ohio State looks like this year. Obviously they've got Kyle McCord and Devin Brown in the waiting. But outside of some injury, there's no shot, in my opinion, that CJ loses this job. So does McCord actually transfer? There's a lot of questions we're going to find out. May 2nd, I believe, is the deadline for the second transfer window if you want to be able to play this fall. So we're going to have to tune in very heavily for that over the next month on if any of these guys transfer out, including all the other battles going on around the country. But I did just want to point out, Stroud just looking impressive. And then I tweeted out a video the other day, if you have not seen it, G. Scott Jr. looking like, he is a wide receiver playing tight end, but just how embarrassing he is, or how good he is embarrassing linebackers and safeties on him with the way he's able to move at 235 pounds is it's fun to watch. I really am excited to see what he looks like in this offense. I definitely think right now, I believe he's the 2. I do think he was the 1 coming into this week, but Cade Stover, who had switched over to linebacker at the end of last year, switched back to tight end this year. And it seems like he's going to be the leader in the tight end room, but I don't know that he's got the offensive talent that G. Scott does. Excuse me. So, very interested to see what they do with G. Scott. I mean, he definitely gives them an advantage because defenses are going to be keying in on Marvin Harrison and JSN, and that gives them a guy in the middle of the field in G. Scott Jr. who could do some damage. That is where CJ Stroud loved to find JSN last year because you had those defenses bracketing Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and trying to take those guys away. So he just kept dumping it off to JSN in the slot. And there are talks that they're moving JSN all over the place. And even if he is in the slot, I think clearly defenses are going to be doing their best to cover him because he's the best wide receiver on the team currently. So I think G. Scott could be a very interesting matchup nightmare for this offense. Curious to see what it is he's able to do this year. All right. Last but not least, let's hit you guys with the spring games this weekend, and we will get out of here. So tomorrow, Friday, Georgia State and Syracuse have their games. On Sunday, you have Southern Miss, Michigan, and Charlotte. And then on Sunday, Coastal Carolina and Louisville. So you have got 7 games going on this weekend. And again, a ton more coming over the next week. We're reaching the end of spring practices. A lot of the teams that I just talked about were on like their somewhere between 7th and 9th practice, which are only allowed to have 15 over the spring period. So we're reaching the end of spring practices. Again, these games, we're going to try and give you some wrap-ups of those. We'll continue to bring you guys more and more news as we reach the end of all the spring stuff. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow.